Hi, you guys. It's Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're going to talk about the Sun into Pisces cycle for 2017. Big cycle ahead with lots of contrasts and big energies coming through. For those of you who don't know my work, I do a report when the sun changes signs, but I don't go through each of the 12 signs individually. There's lots of that here on YouTube. What I do is give you an overview of the highlights of each sun cycle and kind of let you know how the planets are moving around, the different combinations, etc. So here's a start time for the things I'm going to cover on this video. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and for watching. So enjoy. All right, so let me give you the highlights and then we'll break out those charts because you guys know I like to make the charts for you. So, of course, the sun is moving into Pisces. That's the 12th sign. It's the mutable water energy. It's connecting there with Neptune, one of the outer planets, huge influence. And of course, we have the South Node there as well. So we're going to have a lot of Pisces influence throughout the cycle, not just the sun, but when Neptune's involved, you know it's big. But again, continuing and finishing up this is the last year we're going to have the South Node there for quite a while. I think it's something like 19 years. So it's going to be a while before we have the South Node in Pisces again. So really soak it up. Other things that are happening in some of the charts I'm going to cover, Mercury is moving around a lot this cycle. Mercury starts off in Aquarius, has some really nice, Mercury's my favorite. There's a little segment I'm going to do just on Mercury in this. And don't worry, it's not a retrograde. It actually has some positive benefits. Then there is the movement into Pisces with Mercury and then on into Aries by the end of the cycle. So Mercury is up to full speed, doing its thing. Big story that a lot of people are covering is Venus is actually the one going retrograde. I'm not going to concentrate on that because there's so much information already out there about that. For me, the biggies are actually, I mean, the Venus thing is big, but Mercury's movements are interesting to me. Mars is another one I'm watching. It's going to change into Taurus by the end of the cycle, but before that, it's going to it's going to completely be Mars and stir up plenty of stuff just because of the angles that it's in, and it falls into some cardinal energy. This cycle is going to see our next Jupiter opposition to Uranus. And of course, Mars is going to oppose Jupiter as well because Mars and Uranus are in Aries, and those two will be meeting up, and those guys oppose Jupiter. So lots of cardinal energy happening during this cycle. So I'm going to cover that in a little bit more detail. An eclipse, hey, I told you, we have a lot going on this cycle. And then a big full moon and a little bit of this mutable stuff, just shaking off the rest of that 2016, mutable squaring energy, which I told you is dissolving this year. But we definitely get some kick-ups courtesy of Saturn this cycle. Both the Sun and Mercury get into squares with Saturn. So I'm going to cover those in a second. So let's, as we normally do, what I'd like to do is run through some charts with you, look at them so you can see it and see how it's working, what it looks like, and then, we'll talk through, and then I'm going to just get back to Mars and Mercury. Okay. On the 18th, we see the sun heading into Pisces. And again, like I mentioned, there's this beautiful Pisces stellium that's going to be with us this whole time. I really like this because it's Pisces integrates, it offers us the ability to go inward, to reflect, and to blend things. And so we're going to have that influence throughout this cycle just because of the players involved. So I really like it. I think it gets really strong when Mercury runs through there. Real nice Piscean thing. And some of the energies that we experienced when the sun went through Capricorn, you can check out that video because I talked a lot about the Pisces influence there because there were some nice angles to the Capricorn ones. Okay, so next chart is for this next eclipse on the 26th. really big deal. Eclipses are always big, and then this is some of that mutable energy we talked about. But the bigger thing is Mars and Uranus hook up that day. I told you Mars was going to be in the picture. So look at this. Look at those two right there at 21 degrees, getting ready to hang out and be exact. And we'll go into that in a second when I cover the cardinal Mars aspect of this cycle. But I want you to, see it in the chart. Next, Jupiter Uranus opposition that I talked about on March 2nd, again, pulling this cardinal energy, telling us, what are we doing next? Which way are we going? What are we, adding more to the momentum, but it may come with a little contention. Then March 4th, big day for a couple of reasons. This is both the day that Venus goes retrograde, and it is also the day when we have this nice little meeting in Pisces between Mercury and Neptune. So that's a really nice conjunction. We'll talk about that in a second, but this is another day to notice, and it's the day before. If you look back a little further on this chart, back up here, look at Mars and Saturn. They're getting ready for a trine, which is actually a positive for those two. That's a nice boost for the fire sign people especially, but I like to see those two working together. It seems like definitely a time for some progress because they're both in those outward fire signs. And it seems like Saturn always tempers things, but that might be good for Mars and Aries to have a little maturity with how it moves forward. Next chart, the 9th. This is Mars heading into Taurus. Now, a lot of people don't like that. They think that Mars isn't in a good place when it's in Taurus. I actually like it because Mars has been instigating since it got to Aries. And, you can look back on my Sun into Aquarius video. I said, mark my words, January 28th, when Mars gets into Aries, it's going to start stirring up stuff. And that's the day everyone decided to go to the airport. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I was like, of course, everybody got stirred up. It was Mars coming home to Aries. Last chart we're going to look at in this cycle is this big full moon on the 12th. Again, we're releasing the old. The old is going out. It's obviously not letting go very easily. We're seeing that all over the place, and because there's a big Neptunian influence, people are having a hard time, adjusting to the new reality. And then one of the ones that is not very much fun, that is exact on the 17th, but you can see that building, and it will be aspected by this big full moon because, of course, the moon is in Virgo, activating the mutable energy, and this is the finishing up, releasing, etc. And the North Node saying, where are we headed to next? What did we learn? What can we heal? All those things that we talked about all last year. Luckily, the moon is just there for a couple days, and we have this big full moon, but it does set us up for the Sun-Saturn square, which is never fun. But I feel like, we'll see vestiges of some of the stuff we saw last June and some of the stuff we saw last September. If there's anything you didn't finish up from those things, it may come up again. But again, the tide has definitely turned. All these energies are coming into cardinal. So let's talk about that next. And then I'm going to close out with my 2 cents on Mercury. All right, you guys. So one of the things that's really interesting about this cycle is normally we go into Pisces and we think, right on, chill out, chillax and all that good stuff, because it's a mutable sign, it's a watery sign, and that's normally true. However, because again, we're in this shift from mutable, ending closure, clearing out, to beginning cardinal energy, this cycle is definitely going to have those contrasts. So the main instigator before he gets into Taurus is Mars. That planet is our energy, it's our vigor, and it's a little nasty. It's just, it starts some stuff. And it is just not going to disappoint this cycle. It's keeps going, and it bolsters. You guys who follow astrology and are learning know that when we have issues with an outer planet, that is Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, that is not just the day it happens. It builds for a couple of weeks, hits that crescendo, that point, and then it, decrescendos. So, we have a big buildup, and Mars is right in the middle of this. The big one that we have, of course, is the Jupiter-Uranus opposition that's exact on the 2nd of March. But Mars is just going to be stirring and instigating, because stirring things up and instigating, because that's just what Mars does. So interestingly enough, of course, we still have Pluto in Capricorn, another one of our cardinals. So 3 of our 4 cardinal signs are occupied this whole cycle, and they will just continue to be with that heavy influence in Aries, initiating, getting things done, things happening rapidly, angele. And so Mars is going to square Pluto right when this cycle starts on the 22nd. It will oppose Jupiter on the 27th, and then, of course, builds up to the Jupiter-Uranus opposition on the 2nd of March, and then, like I said, it has that nice trine to Saturn on the 5th. These first 21 days of the cycle, the 18th of February through the 9th of March, will be extremely active, because we have that eclipse on the 26th, like right in the middle of it all. And of course, that's the day that Mars has the conjunction with Uranus. So it's just huge. Think about the wild card energy that Uranus is, and then you just get Mars in there activating it, and they're both in Aries, like, holy cow. It's just getting stuff done. So you guys will feel like spring is already springing in a lot of places. Now, of course, like you saw in all those charts, we definitely still have Pisces influence throughout. So I feel like if it gets too noisy, you can always just like tune out, like all that Pisces is, to me, it's like we could swim underwater, and just go la 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 la, I don't hear it. We can go way down deep with the Pisces thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second when I cover Mercury. But if you this year go, wow, that was not a boring Pisces cycle, or it wasn't the mellow, and I just don't think it'll feel as, last year was a weird harshness, and there's just so much loss, people leaving, artists leaving, musicians leaving, which would be so Piscean, but it was all part of those mutable crosses, and just hard in a weird kind of way, which would also be very Neptunian. So that's also 12th house, finishing, completion, but at the same time, all this activation, all this Aries energy on top of, and part and parcel with, in concert with, as I would say, all the cardinal stuff. So Mars is just going to be in there getting that done. And then when it moves into Taurus, I actually like it because personally I love Taurus because it's just grounded and in stability, which people, I get it. A lot of astrologers are like, that has nothing to do with it, what Mars gets up to. So Mars gets in there and just keeps this cycle, all kinds of forward momentum. So if you're getting started on stuff, keep going. Don't get too upset by the Venus retrograde in Aries. That's actually giving you time to not do things too quickly, to make sure that things are sound, to work through them, and to sort of ground that impulsiveness that Aries is infamous for. Sometimes it does move too rashly, or we make big decisions too quickly. Uranus would add the big to the game. Aries would add the impulsiveness. Venus retrograde in that, what we love, what we value, our money, is definitely an influence, but I feel like it's kind of nice. I feel like we have the foot on the brake and foot on the gas this cycle. We definitely make progress, and to me it's okay to have that Venus retrograde dates are the 4th of March through tax day. So again, not cutting corners or anything like that. That could come back to haunt you. So I'm good with all that. All right. So Last thing I want to cover is Mercury. And again, I could throw a zillion charts and throw a zillion dates. But at some point we ask ourselves, what is the meaning of this? And of course, that's going to be unique to each of us. But Mercury, I noticed some things happening during this cycle that I really love, and I don't think anybody else is covering. They're just odd to me, but it's the part where the intuitive part of me, makes a connection. So I want to share that. I actually think Mercury is the planet to watch during this cycle. And it's not because one of those silly retrogrades is coming up now. That doesn't concern me. It's actually up to full speed. It starts in Aquarius, comes into Pisces, and makes its way on to Aries, all during this cycle, which is very normal for Mercury. Just here, go, But that is the planet. It is called the messenger of the gods. And what struck me was it makes connections to all three of our outer planets, which again is not unusual. If a planet's moving every through a sign every 2.5 weeks, obviously it's going to make connections. They're all making connections all the time. But what I liked about this was how positive each of the connections it makes with those big global influences. Again, Uranus, Neptune, and then Pluto are those outer planets. The connections that it makes are here. And I'll put a little card to show you. So it's a sextile. All these are positive angles, except for one that I'll tell you about. But when we're talking about the big influencers, I like how constructive this is. So sextile to Uranus on the 20th, and that is when Mercury is still in Aquarius, still asking us to take a big picture snapshot of everything, see the higher good, get downloads of, just of that Uranian ruled, thing. So there's a really nice connection there. Next one, I'm going to single these out. Conjunction with Neptune on the 4th. Big deal. That's, of course, the day the Venus retrograde starts. But Neptune, the dreamy, yummy Piscean energy, connecting with Mercury, again, opportunity for a big sort of cosmic download. And the one that I really love, and the message I was kind of getting around it, and I know some astrologers are strictly stick with astrology and don't want to hear, intuitive in interpretations, but this sextile to Pluto on March 7th, I love this because what came to me as I was studying the dates and trying to figure out what a coherent message to tell you about all this stuff. What struck me was Pisces gets us in touch with our intuition. It's an intrinsic, intuitive feeling, and we can't always articulate it and put words to it. And of course, that's Mercury's job, is to communicate, right? So it's in Pisces going, I just feel it. I'm just feeling it, but this really nice angle to Pluto is Pluto's the ultimate truth. And I just love this because it's like saying, your truth. So never mind all the noise, never mind all the fake stuff going all around us, all the artificial garbage. Your truth, and on such a deep level when something hits you as yep, and you don't have to have the evidence, quote unquote. That can come later. I just feel like this combination is so powerful. I love that the Mercury connections are positive, except for this little square to Saturn, of course, on the full moon. So that is a little bit of ruckus. You know me. I tell you the good and the bad, or the, challenging, and the good, but I'm optimistic. And last little thing, and I have this whole list of the combinations up here, where Mercury is just meeting up with everyone in overall positive angles, except for the Saturn thing. But what I love, and this just sort of was the thing that convinced me to talk about Mercury in this video, is when it moves into Aries, This whole thing of like us connecting on a deep level, trusting our higher truth, trusting that we're getting the bigger vision is unfolding into the world. This new stuff is starting, and being open to those downloads for our lives, purpose, all that, and how it fits into the world now. There's a conjunction with Venus, which to me, the words I heard were seal it with a kiss, you know? So this whole journey that Mercury's making during the Pisces cycle, you know, is complete with this nice little meetup with Venus in Aries. Even though Venus is retrograde, I like this because it's just sealing it with a kiss. It's like we get this journey, then those two meet up at planet of love and the planet of communication. So I would just say Pisces in general invites us to trust our intuition. Mercury is going to be communicating, getting messages from the big outer three planets. It's like, you know, orders from headquarters kind of thing. So let those translations come through and set aside your meditation time, especially while Mercury is in Pisces. I just think I just love that they're, with the exception of the Saturn square, these are really positive angles. And I just find it really interesting that Mercury makes connections with the outer three planets that are so positive. So that's what I had to share about Mercury. Now let me give you a little wrap up. So I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. I have a website, elizabethsoracle.co. I also do a show with my friend Kristy. Happy birthday, Kristy. She's got a new book out, and I want you guys to support her, and it's just great knowledge, very practical and intuitive, and she's got a background in counseling as well as the spiritual stuff. So really sound advice here. The link's in the description box, and I will be doing her show with her on the 22nd this month. We just intuitively felt like the 15th wasn't going to work, and that totally proved to be right. So again, you get the intuition, you follow it, and the evidence can come later. So we have that. You can come to my site for a reading, and I want to give a special thank you to everybody who participated I did a big 5th anniversary sale in the last month, and you guys, I've been so busy that this video is almost late because you guys kept me so busy with the reading. So thank you so much. And if you're curious about having a reading, and I can do your chart, or we can do a tarot reading, we can do just the intuition or the astrology, or combination of both, there is the YouTube special, 5 free minutes with any order. Just come to Elizabeth's Oracle. Feel free to sign up to the newsletter, because there's also an exclusive Oracle message that I give in that to the newsletter community. And if you're part of that and tuning into the video, thank you so much. All right, so I am going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I'll say I'm going to see you when the sun is heading into Aries, but it already feels, very Aryan with all the energy going on. New things, positive developments, keep thinking big, all those nice Mercury connections with the big planets. Stay positive, and we'll see you next month. Thank you so much.